went to the movies, we had to go through the back door and then up the stairs to a balcony, and we watched from the balcony. We didn't even understand that there was another way to do this. Things were very segregated. We never mingled with white people because they planned it that way. But for the most part, we watched things like the Ted Mack Hour, I think it was called, which was entertainment. It was singing and dancing and some comedy, or the Ed Sullivan Show, things like that. Or my mother liked to watch things like Perry Mason. I thought white people were just the people on TV.
Sterling, Lucky Sterling. Yeah, me. Lucky Sterling.
I didn't have significant interaction with white people until I went to high school. At that time, things were opening up for black people to join white people at their schools. I was about 14 when I started 10th grade, which would have been 64. So that's when a lot of stuff was happening in 1964. A lot of civil rights passages, a lot of the thing with the dogs and the hoses, and that was happening in the early 60s. And of course we saw that on TV.
Police turned high-pressure fire hoses on the young people and set attack dogs on them. The brutal crackdown was widely televised, and images of the event were seen around the world. Robert Corley says this incident galvanized new support for the civil rights movement.
We were naturally politicized by that because we recognized that we were part of the group that was being targeted. My high school was very large, about 3,000 students, and I had grown up in a small town and had been pretty protected all my life. So I didn't feel comfortable just going far away and being with a whole bunch of strangers. So it felt more comfortable for me to go to a small college. I liked Lake Forest. Lake Forest was 1,100 students at the time. 100, I think almost exactly 100 black students. So less than 10% of the campus. But for the most part, I think we were part of our own little bubble where we knew there was all this racial tension, but everybody pretended that it didn't exist at all. So I think that being black, because we were relegated to having such a difficult time achieving anything, our aspirations were the moon, because we felt like, well, we haven't been able to go as far as we could go. I guess if the gate were open, we could really go all the way anywhere we wanted to go. So now I felt like I'm pushing up out of this concrete. You know, I'm this chute coming out of this concrete. I can go anywhere I want. I ended up moving to Washington, D.C. I eventually worked with the D.C. Public Prosecutor's Office. And I was a juvenile prosecutor for about a year. Then got pregnant and then had a child while I was in that position, and eventually quit that job because of not wanting to prosecute my own children, for one thing. So that meant that if I considered myself to be smart, I had to make sure that I had the position I deserved to have in this world. And that meant not just me personally, but my race, my group, my people. I had to be an activist because, and I still feel like I had to have been an activist because I grew up, became an adult during a period that was so pivotal to race relations in this country. I related to the expression, all I had to do was be black and die. Those are only two things that had to happen. I had to be black and I had to die.
And before I'll be a slave, I'll be buried in my grave and go home to my Lord and be free.